first and foremost, it means a better deal for customers.
Competition has probably been the best thing that's happened to the industry.
We're appreciated a lot more than we were before, so no one really minds putting in the extra mile.
It's no good wishing and hoping a competition won't come, because it will come.
Oh, it's very competitive, very competitive.
It hasn't always been a competitive industry. For decades, electricity was supplied by state-owned monopolies, but an agreement by the state and federal governments in 1995 paved the way for competition. Now there's competition in the electricity industry, just like other businesses, and this is the worldwide trend. So first, let's take a look at how the industry works. It can basically be broken up into four main parts. Generation is where power is produced. Translines are the highways of power. Distribution is the local network of poles and wires. And retail is all about customer contact. In Tasmania, the whole industry is run by the hydro. But in other states, generating companies are already competing. At this stage, there's no competition in transmission. Distribution is getting fairly competitive, but it's in the retail area where the game is really being played. There are about 20 electricity retailers in New South Wales and Victoria. So how do they play the game, and what are the rules for competition?
Well, it's largely state-based regulation. However, where there is a national element to it, for example with the transmission issues between New South Wales and Victoria, the HEC has taken on the national regulatory role.
The Australian Competition and Consumer Commission administers and enforces the Trade Practices Act, promoting competition throughout the Australian economy.
Competition is more likely to have the wishes of consumers met in terms of price or quality and reliability and safety, and that makes our business able to compete better in world markets as well as supply very efficiently within Australia.
How do you see the situation in Tasmania?
I hope and believe that before too long, with Basslink, that there will be both interstate competition with Tasmania, but also it will give it a chance to compete in the national electricity market.
At the hub of the system is the power exchange. Its function is the same as any other market, to bring buyers and sellers together so they can trade.
We're only a very small company, but with some major responsibilities. They include the actual operation of the main power system. The energy has to be supplied at the cheapest possible price, and we manage that particular market, the competitive electricity market.
The generators are able to bid into our computer-based system and bid into the market, and we stack up the generators from the lowest price to the highest price to meet the demand. And so the generator with the highest price at the time to meet the demand generating sets the price, the spot price.
In Tasmania, the Hydro's Energy Control Centre performs a similar function in running the power stations and transmitting the power through to the load centres. That's where the customers are. So what does competition mean for them?
The savings are somewhere about 35 or 36%, which is quite a significant saving for us. And at the present moment, it's something over $100,000 a year.
Geofabrics Australasia is a textile manufacturer based in Albury, New South Wales. Their products are used in civil engineering projects in Australia and overseas. Demand is so great the factory runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Electricity is a fairly significant part of our manufacturing costs, and to date it's been something we've had no real control over. I got a phone call from a guy one day who told me he was from Advanced Energy and wanted to discuss the contestable market with me. The local suppliers were much less proactive. It was several phone calls before I could even get someone to come and see me. Advance were able to offer me a very, very good price, a reasonably long-term fixed price. The service was very, very good. You know, if I had any queries at all, it was just literally one phone call.
So Geofabrics has signed a 3-year contract with a rival electricity retailer, and the company is set to double its production capacity. Across the border in Victoria, more customers are enjoying the benefits of competition.
We were paying a high price for electricity. 2 years later, in the privatised competitive market, that cost of electricity is halved.
The Wool Testing Authority in Melbourne operates around the clock, testing wool for most of southeastern Australia, a process that uses a large amount of energy.
For the industry consumer, there's lots of dollars at the moment. The other thing is the choice of supplier. It really ranges from woeful to excellent. Sometimes they're still rigid, perhaps a hangover from their previous bureaucratic days. If they've got a competitive price, they can expect some customer loyalty. If it's not in the ballpark, then the obligation on the business is to change supplier.
Another win for the customer. Competition in electricity is being introduced gradually, with larger energy users the first to have a choice. Since July 97 in New South Wales and Victoria, thousands more customers have been able to choose. By around the year 2001, everyone will be able to choose their electricity supplier, with competition bringing benefits to customers.
Competition has probably been the best thing that's happened to the industry. It's brought a vibrancy to it, and it's brought solutions to the industry that we would never have considered before. I think both customers and employees have gained by it. A total utility provider, which is what United Energy is aiming to be, is somewhere where a customer can provide all their utilities through one supplier, which means gas, telecommunications and electricity. It means that they can actually save because the same systems are being used for all those utilities, such as your call centres and your billing services.
So customers benefit in many ways. But what about the people who work in the electricity industry? What does competition mean for them?
We're just appreciated more. We've got more. We're involved in a lot more things. We're not kept in the dark like we were before.
Doug Nichols works for one of the new companies created from the old State Electricity Commission in Victoria. So what was it like before the change?
Staff morale was pretty low because no one really knew what was going to happen. There was a lot of uncertainty, but I mean, as I said, everyone's fairly happy now. I mean, we've gone through the hard times and we've gone through the change and we've moved on, and as I said, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
United Energy has a share ownership plan for employees. So what is it like being a shareholder?
Oh, it's great. It sort of makes you feel as if you're a part of something. It also spurs you on to do that bit extra as well, because if the company makes money, we make money. So therefore, it's good all round, really.
Now, how have the changes affected people in other parts of the industry?
There's a hell of a difference now, Penny. God. In the old days where it didn't matter so much, you know, we could go along and not have to worry about the cost of the performance of the plants, the cost of the plant. The whole process that we're doing now is to make sure we run the plants at the optimum efficiency. And that's the major difference.
Generators like Hazelwood compete against each other to supply the market. If they bid correctly, they generate and make money. If they're too expensive, they won't get to run. It's a game where the stakes are high.
By God, you feel you've won something, and that's one of the differences that how people feel that they really get satisfaction about it. If you were here, say, 18 months ago, you wouldn't believe the attitude of the place. Now it's a different attitude altogether. People are more vibrant. They still moan, and they still, you know, expect the best out of you, but they do it in a different way now.
So what's the workers' advice for management?
You've got to give the people the information to make them think for themselves, more than anything else. And with that, you'll get the backing of the people that count.
Get out there on the floor, talk to the guys in the field, talk to the guys in accounts, get to know who your employees are, and let them know at all times what's happening through the whole deregulation process, so that they're not scared of the change.
Mark Mulligan started in the industry as an apprentice, but competition has taken his career in a new direction. He's now part of a sales team winning new business for Advance Energy. So what's his recipe for success?
I would say go and talk to your organisation development manager, if you have one. Sound him out about the types of opportunities that may be coming up under the deregulation. If it means enrolling in, say, a marketing course or an account management course, or any field that you think you may be able to excel in under the deregulation, get get a head start on everybody else and get busy, because the rewards in the long run are really wonderful. People who are nervous about change, unfortunately, are going to get swept to the side, because if you don't grasp the opportunities, you're just going to get passed by everybody who's keen to adopt the change and run with it. So if you don't feel that you're going to be able to cope with it, I'd start looking for another job right now.
The next 4 people are former Hydro employees who've already taken advantage of the opportunities that come with competition. So what can we learn from their experience?
What the Hydro has to do is now let go of the bureaucracy, I'd say, and allow the sales force to go out there and really address the needs without being hampered by layers of review and management looking at every specific job and tying up the progress and the development of contracts for months on end.
Until recently, Steve Martin was part of the Hydro sales team. Now he works for a retailer selling electricity in other states.
First of all, they can forget the fact that because the Hydro is government owned or running the only electricity network in Tasmania, that's going to give them any advantage in the new market. So what the staff of the Hydro need to do is start looking at customers as ones who can walk out the door if they want and leave them.
The next person we hear from is Graham Deneen, who's now running a major power station in Victoria. Graham was a member of the Hydro's senior executive team before he left in 1994.
I think the main benefit for competition for industry will be in the long term, industry will know that they're getting electricity at the lowest possible price available. Whilst industry is served by government monopolies, there is always that question as to whether in actual fact the price is the lowest possible price. And to industry, price is the main issue with electricity.
I think the major difference that I've noticed to date is really the sense of urgency that's created as a result of working in an obviously competitive environment. So there isn't a day goes by where I don't feel that glow of competition in the background, that heat of competition. I think the competition at the retailing end is pretty well understood. People understand how competition works in selling electricity to various customers. Competition in the network area is a more subtle thing that is gradually emerging as more and more aggressive network firms take up that challenge. And competition at the services end in the contracting sort of arena is starting to really ramp up in Victoria as well.
What advice would you give to Hydro employees in how to prepare for competition?
Don't wait for the privatisation process to occur, just keep on getting on with it. And in doing that you will really demonstrate to whoever the new owner is that you're a team that's got the vision and a team that's got the management capability of actually getting on with it. So just get on with it.
Paul Hislop left the Hydro in 1996 after 5 years in system control. He's now an energy trader in the national electricity market.
Well, I don't see that competition should be a matter of concern. It should be seen more a matter of opportunity. And it means, however, that for individuals that we need to be flexible, responsive and adaptive. We need to be prepared to change our skill sets or to upgrade our skill sets and take on new responsibilities and do quite different jobs. And for those that are willing to do that, I see big opportunities. The Hydro is quite well set up. They've got a good strong base load environment and some good peaking load environment, so I think they're particularly well set up to compete in the national market. The biggest positive about Basslink is it will actually allow the state to actually join the electricity market and be part of the reforms.
So how competitive is the market?
I'd have to say that it's cutthroat. On the supply side there's about 10 major players, and at the moment there are major price wars, so it's an intensely competitive environment.
Is it a positive thing for the industry?
Oh, absolutely, because what's happening now is the true price of electricity is being revealed through competition in the industry.
We've heard from a cross-section of people who work in the competitive electricity market, but what's the view of the Hydro?
In the next 3 to 4 years, we'll move from where we are at the moment, no retail competition, to full retail competition. The first phase will probably start, I would say, in about 12 months' time, but that's subject, of course, to government making a decision. Basslink is still a number of years away. Probably the earliest that it could be in place is in around 4 or 5 years. If a sale of part of the hydro is to take place, or if private equity is to come into part of the hydro, about the earliest that could occur is around 2 years. It's one thing for a government to introduce legislation, it's another thing for Parliament to approve it, and it could take years depending on Parliament's position.
So Basslink is 4 to 5 years away. Privatisation is yet to go through Parliament and could take years. But retail competition is going to happen and could start next year.
The fact is that irrespective of what the Tasmanian Parliament decides on privatisation of parts of the hydro, they've already passed legislation which will ensure that competition occurs. Competition means that there'll be other retailers who could potentially take market share away from us. So if you look at the impact on the hydro, the generation part of our business won't be impacted because we'll still be generating the electricity. The electricity will still be running through our wires and we'll be getting money for that. But at the retail end, if we lose a lot of market share, obviously there'll be less work involved at the retail end.
What do you say to staff who are anxious about their future?
The best news, I guess, is that the way that the electricity market is changing is providing opportunities, it's providing potential for the hydro to grow and develop, and there's no reason why people who are good at their job in the hydro won't continue to get a job either here or maybe with another retailer. So while we could perhaps be distracted by political debate, we've got to make sure that that doesn't occur and we focus on our business, which is electricity.
That cost of electricity is halved.
If the company makes money, we make money.
I let go of the bureaucracy, I'd say. So just get on with it.